The New York Jets have a new OC. They also had a reunion with a Rex Ryan disciple. And one of the quarterbacks that has been often linked to the New York Jets, they just received a very stern warning about. We'll talk about all of it. Boy Green Daily starts now.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Let's go!
Put your seatbelts on. Get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcasts. As you come on in, like the video, hit subscribe. We also have a full article in the YouTube description down below on a former Kyler Murray teammate warning the Jets about adding him this offseason. Oh my goodness, baby. We had another topic planned today, but we kicked that show to tomorrow with Bob Lederer because I wanted to get to this, and I tweeted out the clip. Shout out to Rich Cimini of the Flight Deck podcast, who shared this. Man, we have a lot to get into here on the program, everybody. Also want to give a quick reminder, if you guys did not see it yesterday, it dropped. Lindsey Rhodes, formerly of the NFL Network, joined me for 40 minutes to talk about our new draft series, the evaluation, and we talked Jets. Aaron Glenn, the Jets draft prospects, and how they can turn this thing around. So check out that full interview with Lindsey Rhodes, former NFL Network star, on our video tab. We'll also have a huge interview coming up on the show tomorrow as well, beyond the Boy Green Daily scope. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Without further ado, folks, let's get into it. Rich Cimini on the Flight Deck podcast that dropped last night shared a very eyebrow-raising nugget on Kyler Murray and what a former Kyler Murray teammate said to Rich Cimini when the idea was brought up that the Jets could pursue Kyler Murray this offseason. Let's go to this clip. Again, this is from the Flight Deck podcast, which is hosted by ESPN's Rich Cimini.
Kyler Murray's attracted a lot of speculation with regard to the Jets. I'd be a little surprised if they went down that road. He has not been a durable player. He has not been a good player, quite frankly. I was talking to someone, one of his former teammates the other day, and he basically warned off the Jets about, I said, hey, the Jets might be going after Kyler in a month or two. And he goes, no. He goes, the Jets don't want to do that. You don't want Kyler Murray as your quarterback. And this is someone who played with Murray. So there's always been talk about how he doesn't love football. So I'd be a little surprised. Aaron Glenn always talks about culture. That one would surprise me.
This is the kind of stuff that scares me about Kyler Murray. That a former teammate would so openly, so Rich Cimini's just, talking shop with the guy. And then he says, boy, man, maybe the Jets will pursue that Kyler Murray guy, like your former teammate. And he goes, whoa, yeah, definitely don't do that. Like, what? Like, why? Oh, that kind of stuff concerns me. Now, the other side is what Nanka Iboko says here in the chat, which, by the way, Nanka, you are second place in our contest for raffle tickets this month. He says Kyler Murray has pretty good numbers. That's what I'm intrigued by. I'm like, whoa, look at the touchdowns. Look at the yards. Look at the rushing yards. He's been one of the most dynamic rushing quarterbacks of the 21st century. And you may say to yourself, what? And it's dead. Maybe 21st century is too large in over 26 years, although he's like 15th in all-time rushing yards for a quarterback. So he's pretty up there. And if he has another average season where he averages about we talked about this on a previous show, but if he averages 400 or 500 rushing yards, which is what he averages every season, oh my goodness, he's going to launch it to the top 10. So Kyler Murray's numbers are very good, and that is the intriguing part. But the part I'm very concerned about is stuff like this, where teammates are warning the Jets, don't go after him, the Call of Duty stuff, the work ethic stuff, the love football stuff. It gives me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies, if I'm being honest. Very much the heebie-jeebies. Now, here's the thing. Let's just, and it's polarizing, so you know what? Let's do this. Let's put up a poll and see, would you guys be interested in Kyler Murray? Because I think we're going to get some interesting responses here. So let's do this. let's put it up to a poll while we're talking about this. Are you interested in adding Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray this offseason for the Jets? Yes or no? Yes, no. We'll leave the options as simple as that. So feel free to vote. We just put that poll up on YouTube as we're going to go through the rest of the show. I'm curious to hear your guys' response. So we'll check on that in a second. But, like, on Kyler Murray, well, first off, let's just say this. Again, I mentioned this earlier about every offseason, or no, in this offseason in particular, I'm all over the place. In this offseason in particular, I don't think us as Jet fans could just automatically say no to any quarterback because we're desperate and there's not a lot of great options. So who are we to immediately go, no, like we're better than that? Are we? I don't know. So the point is, will Kyler Murray be available? Here is the latest on what we have on whether or not, again, Kyler Murray will be available. Here are a few key pieces, okay? So Kyler Murray is 28. He will be 29 before the start of the 2026 season. He has 3 years left on his $230 million contract he signed. Now, according to NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport, quote, there is a deadline if Kyler Murray is still on the Cardinals roster on the 5th day of the new league year, which is coming up this March. $19.5 million in 2027 becomes fully guaranteed. So it becomes guaranteed a year early if he stays on the roster for 2026. Okay. According to NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero, quote, the most likely scenario is the Cardinals release Kyler Murray after the start of the new league year, but before that deadline that's coming up. So by all the reporting, Kyler Murray will be available. Now, we are going to debate whether or not the Jets should pursue said available quarterback, but by all accounts, he's going to be available. Okay. And here's this. The Cardinals have hired a new head coach. His name is Mike LaFleur. And Nathaniel Hackett, he is hired as his offensive coordinator. Jets traveled to Arizona this year and played the Cardinals. Just a quick aside on that. So let me get this straight. So Mike LaFleur is brought over from Robert Saleh, right? And he is Robert Saleh's offense coordinator for 2 years. After 2022, they're like, Mike LaFleur, you're fired, or parted ways, whichever your perception is of that, what happened there. The Jets replaced Mike LaFleur with Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers and everybody in 2023. Now, Mike LaFleur gets a head coaching job in Arizona, and his move is to grab Nathaniel Hackett. And Nathaniel Hackett was most recently with the Packers, and then he agreed to be the quarterback's coach of the Dolphins, and then he left the Dolphins high and tried to go to the Cardinals, which, quite frankly, if you're the Dolphins fan, that's sort of a net positive for you because Nathaniel Hackett stinks. But he goes from Miami to Arizona. What does this man have on people? He's an offensive coordinator for Mike LaFleur. I'm Mike LaFleur, and I'm an NFL head coach for the first time, and I want freaking Nathaniel Hackett as my offense coordinator. That's neither here nor there. That's sort of a weird detour distraction. But the point is that Mike LaFleur was hired as the next head coach of the Cardinals. Now, this next head coach, which is Mike LaFleur, does media like all the head coaches. You're seeing it like all the Bills people are doing national interviews, local interviews. They're doing a bunch of media. That's what happens when someone gets hired. So Mike LaFleur was doing media after being hired as a Cardinals coach. And I found this comment interesting from Mike LaFleur, who was asked on a local radio show, the Burns and I want to call it Gumbo. It's not Gumbo. The Burns and Gambo show. This is a radio show out in Arizona. Okay. Mike LaFleur is asked, does he see an avenue for Kyler Murray to be, the Cardinals quarterback in 2026? This is what Mike LaFleur said. Quote, again, I'm not going to answer that question today because we got to go have all of those conversations. We've had some closed door conversations about how we're going to make this roster the best it can moving forward. Like, it's weird that, maybe it's a coach being cagey, but like he won't even entertain the possibility that Kyler Murray will be on the roster. Like he refuses to even say that. I think that says all the pieces from NFL Network, the pieces from LaFleur. Kyler Murray is going to be available. But again, should the Jets want Kyler Murray? That's where we're at right now. So continue to vote on that poll, everybody, here on the YouTube. We'll also have a special guest joining us at 8:15. Beat reporter from JetsXFactor.com, Nick Faria, will join us. That'll be coming up at 8:15. Yes. By the way, let's get a quick look at the poll right now. Are you interested in adding Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray this offseason for the Jets? Yes or no? 76% of you say no. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, again, because here's the thing on Kyler Murray. The number. So here's some concerning things. Here, you heard this a little bit from Rich Cimini here, but let's go over the other things that Rich Cimini said. Rich said he'd be surprised if it happened, and I'd be surprised in a couple ways because we're going to get into the coaching in a second. But if you look at Frank Reich's history of quarterbacks that he's worked with, outside of Bryce Young, who's a short guy, they are all tall pocket passers. If you look at the statistics and the history. So Kyler Murray doesn't seem like a fit for Frank Reich anyway. But, sometimes, on my dating profile, I'm looking for this. Just because I'm looking for those things does not mean I'm getting those things. But Kyler Murray does not seem to be a fit with what Frank Reich is looking for. However, Rich Cimini said he would be surprised if the Jets went down that road. He questioned the durability and says, quite frankly, he hasn't even been a good player. The durability concerns are fair. In 4 of the last 5 seasons, Kyler Murray has missed at least 3 games. In 2 of the last 3 seasons, so let's get even a closer sample size, Kyler Murray has missed 21 games. In the season sandwich in between, so last 3 years, the sandwich season in between, Kyler Murray started all 17 games. That was beautiful. But the other 2 of those 3, he played in fewer than 10 games twice. So it's not great for Kyler Murray in terms of durability. But again, this is also a guy that's been an offensive rookie of the year, a multi-time Pro Bowler. He's a Heisman Trophy winner from college. Like, there are some video game numbers here on his docket of having multiple 20-plus touchdown seasons. He has done that 4 times in his career. The Jets have not had that level of respectability. The thing to like as well, in 3 of the last 4 seasons, Kyler Murray has thrown fewer than 7 interceptions. He's thrown 7 interceptions or fewer in 3 of the last 4 years. So you like that number as well. Part of that, of course, can also be contributed to durability, of course, because he didn't play in enough games potentially to throw more picks as well. Also, people talking about, just randomly, I see in the comment section, Trinidad Shambliss saying, oh, he's entering the draft or he's not entering the draft. The latest, he was rejected on his appeal, but now he's pushing it to the courts. And there's a date coming up in a week from today where he will be able to push it one more time to see if he can go back to college. So that is not official yet. So there's still a date a week from today, a court date, where he can pull one more lever to attempt to enter the draft. So still more to come on Trinidad Shambliss for those that are looking at that as well. So there you go, folks. Again, we'll reference the poll throughout the show, so feel free. Shout out to the 200-plus people in the room, including 100-plus on YouTube. Like the video, baby. Hit subscribe. Let's freaking go. We're getting closer and closer to 10,000 subscribers, which is awesome. And it's a real treat. A real treat indeed. Abso-friggin-lutely. Very, very proud. We are, we're 1 subscriber away from 8,340, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Whoa, the numbers continue to grow. All right, let's get into some of the coaches while we're going through this process. Jets hire Frank Reich. He is now the Jets offensive coordinator. And I'm going to be honest, I like the hire. Here's what I think, if I can explain it just in layman's terms. I think what Frank Reich does is he raises the floor of the Jets offense. Now, a lot of people are proponents of Tanner Engstrand, and when the Jets and Aaron Glenn, decide to fire Tanner Engstrand, that upset a lot of Jet fans out in social media. And I say this. Tanner Engstrand just completed his first year of calling plays at the NFL level. With the Falcons, he's not calling plays. He's like a passing game coordinator. Aaron Glenn's ass is on the line, and he had to determine, who do I trust more? Tanner Engstrand going into his second year of play calling at the NFL level, or someone that has done it forever. And I think the Jets raised their floor with Frank Reich. this is a guy that doesn't have to learn the job on the fly. Tanner was learning the job. He's like, oh, this offensive coordinator thing. What's all this about? Now, in fairness, Aaron Glenn hired Tanner Engstrand. So there's no one to blame but himself. No one to blame but himself. However, what I would point out is last year, I thought Aaron Glenn was going to do what he decided to do this offseason, but I thought he'd do it the first time around. I thought he would get an experienced offensive guy to run the offense, and then he would get a young guppy, and he would nurture and help whoever that was to be the defensive coordinator. So I thought veteran play caller offensive side, at least that's handled. Then defense, I'm going to go with the young guy. He didn't. He did the opposite. Steve Wilkes, as we all know, that was an epic failure. And then young guy in offense, and Tanner, he had some nice moments, but to be honest, in the raw numbers, he was bottom 5 in points. He was bottom 5 in yards. And the Jets had the worst passing offense in the league by 400 plus yards. Think about that. The Jets were 32nd out of 32 teams. And the team at 31 had 400 more passing yards than the Jets. That was the Cleveland Browns, for God's sakes. So the numbers are disgusting from last year. So there's not a lot of defense you can give to one Tanner Engstrand. And if you start pointing at quarterback this, that, or the other, then you're just making excuses for the lack of production. Which takes me to this is about Aaron Glenn. And I like that we have a play caller who has an identity. He's not figuring that out. He knows how to call plays. He's not figuring that out. He's been a quarterback forever. So I love that mentality that will be at the offensive coordinator position. That I like a lot. So I think, again, the Frank Reich hire increases the floor of the New York Jets, which I think is what we should be shooting for, quite frankly. You know, I can only speak for myself as a Jets fan. I don't know how everyone else is in the audience. But for me, every year, I'm like, the Jets can win the Super Bowl. And I convince myself every year, and there's no one to blame but myself, but I do that. And I think the advice to myself is instead of swinging for the fences, instead of swinging for ceiling, maybe it's about time, instead of style, we opt for substance. Maybe instead of sex appeal, we opt for effectiveness. And Frank Reich, I get it. To the great people in the audience, it's not sexy. He's 64. He was pondering retirement seriously before the Jets reached out to him. I get it. It's not a sexy hire. It's not winning headlines. I'm copacetic. I understand. But again, I don't think this is about sex appeal. I think this is about substance for the Jets. And I think that's what Frank Reich provides. And that's what sort of gets me here about this process. And I think this floor is going to give us a place to work with. And of course, I mean, the key piece of this puzzle is sort of obvious. It goes back to our topic du jour of today's show about quarterbacks. And Frank Reich has to get one to even potentially run his offense. If he doesn't have a quarterback, all of this is going to suck. So that's the piece of the puzzle. So again, I am a proponent of the Frank Reich hire. I think there's a lot of people complaining on social media. I don't know, first off, what your expectations were and what you thought was going to happen and this or that. I don't know how this is perceived as underwhelming because this is a guy that won a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles. I know he didn't call plays. But the quarterbacks in that season played very well. If we go back to those Colts teams that he was the head coach of and calling plays for, he had multiple top 10 offenses. So we have top 10 offense history. We have a history of successful offenses. We have a history of successful quarterback play with and under and around Frank Reich. And not everywhere is perfect. People are going to point out Bryce Young and say, he sucked. He did. There's a lot of whispers about what went wrong there. So be it on that. People mentioned the Stanford thing. And I think you really need to recalibrate for Stanford. People are looking at the Stanford thing saying, Frank Reich sucks. He went 4-8. Here's the situation, and Boomer Esiason explained this on the Flight Deck podcast. Okay? I see that some people have even used it in the comment section of this show that said that, Frank Reich got fired from, or Frank Reich sucked at Stanford like he blows clearly. And as Boomer Esiason described it, his former college roommate at Maryland, as he described it on the show, on the podcast, Andrew Luck fired the Stanford head coach in like April. He calls up Frank Reich and says, Reich, I need an interim coach for this year. I just need you to be the head coach for this year. We need a head coach. We're about to start spring training. We need spring football, and we need you to be the head coach. And Frank Reich, for his buddy Andrew Luck, says, you know what? I'll do it. And he does it. And they have a 4-8 record. The 4-8 record is actually impressive considering all the crap that Stanford went through. So if people are using that to sort of like trash Frank Reich, I think you're doing it all wrong. I think you're doing it all wrong from that perspective. I do. So let's put Frank Reich aside. We can answer more questions and comments about Frank Reich in a little bit. Let's go to Carl Dunbar. It brought a smile to my face. Jet fans, Carl Dunbar is an excellent hire for the New York Jets. He's a guy, quite frankly, I wish never left the New York Jets, if we're being honest. But these kind of things happen when coaching changes happen and things of that nature, for sure. But Carl Dunbar, he's 58 years old. He's a former defensive tackle, or defensive end, rather. He played in the league for a bunch of years. And after his playing career, he got into coaching. He's been coaching since 1998. Think about this. This is kind of an interesting nugget. So, Carl has been coaching football for 28 years. 26 of his 28 seasons has been spent doing the same job as a defensive line coach. The only exception is that 2 of those 28 seasons were spent as a strength and conditioning coach. And the rest of them were spent as a defensive line coach. So Carl Dunbar knows defensive line play. Hell, folks, do you remember the faction, not as famous as the New York Sack Exchange, of course. Not as famous as New York Sack Exchange, but do you guys remember the Sons of Anarchy, the name we gave? That, by the way, great show if you guys have never seen it. I've seen it a couple of times. But, where you had Damon Snacks Harrison, Muhammad Welker son, Sheldon Richard son, the Sons of Anarchy. I actually have it. I say this every once in a while. It's right over here. It's hard to see. But if you see this autograph, I'm right here in the middle. You'll see a money sign and then Rich 91. That is a football that I had autographed back in the Cortland days from that time period. And Sheldon Richardson is one of the coolest autographs of all time. It's right over my shoulder, right in between the Beyond Broadway Joe book for Bob Letter and the 100 Facts Jet fans should all know. The Sheldon Richardson autograph is one of the best autographs ever. It looks so cool, and it's right in the middle of that football. The Sons of Anarchy. I loved that line. I loved that time period where the Jets were so disruptive and nasty and had an identity of aggressiveness. So Carl Dunbar loved that. He spent the last 8 seasons with the Steelers, and some of those top Steelers players like T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward have had wonderful things to say. Let me bring this one up. I saw Zach Rosenblatt tweet it out. Let me pull this up real quick. For people asking about old Carl Dunbar here. Here is a cool quote that Zach Rosenblatt pulled from Cam Hayward. I want to get this up here on the show. Let me pull it up. Here it is. Okay, we're going to throw it up here on the screen too. Shout out to Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic having this quote ready from Cam Hayward, who's, of course, a Steelers legend. Okay, and this is a quote he had about Carl Dunbar and his impact. I want to highlight this on the screen here. Let me bring this on up here on the screen. I'll read it out for the audio-only listeners here on the show. Here it is. This is from Twitter. This is Zach Rosenblatt pulling a comment from Cam Hayward. It is from 2024. Quote, when you talk about Carl Dunbar, he's just an unbelievable teacher. He takes time to really help you study. I can definitely say that he helped me continue to grow my development as a player and as a person off the field. He's constantly challenging us. You look at our group. He's all helped us achieve so much. What we do throughout the week is what you get in the game. It allows us to stay consistent because he's so good. What a wonderful compliment to one Carl Dunbar from Cam Hayward of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Terrific. Terrific. So Carl Dunbar, I'm very happy about. Rex Ryan, disciple. He was with the Jets from 2012 to 2014. Then, of course, we all know what happens with Rex. Rex brings Carl Dunbar to Buffalo when he's the head coach there as the defensive line coach. And then he had a quick 2-year stop with Nick Saban at Alabama. And then he went to the Steelers where he's been for the last 8 seasons. So Carl Dunbar is just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. Absolutely terrific. Love that. Love that. Love bringing him in. Absolutely terrific. Yo Holmes says Dunbar didn't have to do much in Pittsburgh when he had Watt and Hayward. See, come on, Yo Holmes. Everything doesn't have to be a negative thing. You know, you can enjoy and smell the roses once in a while, pal. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. For goodness sake. So TJ Watt, when he was a second-year player, he was just instantly a superstar and he didn't need any help from Carl Dunbar. Come on, Yo Holmes. TJ Watt was drafted in 2017. Carl Dunbar arrives 2018. So the only season that Carl Dunbar missed of TJ Watt's career was his rookie season. And was he just a mega star, a defensive player of the year in his first season? No, he wasn't. Give him some gosh darn credit, man. Some things can be good for the Jets. I know it's hard for people to see that sometimes, that things can sometimes be good for the Jets. Sometimes they can hire a good guy, and we don't have to question it. We don't say, oh, wow, this is stupid, or, oh, boy, he's actually not as good. Like, come on, man. Smell the roses, Yo Holmes, for God's sakes. Good Lord. Out there in the comments section. Yeah, Carl Dunbar. Pittsburgh already had good guys. Ugh. Eye roll. Jeez, come on now. The disrespect. Unbelievable. Let's answer some more questions and comments. Jesse says, can we get Becton and Geno for late round picks? There's a lot of talk. Apparently, Becton's going to get cut. So I guess technically you could trade for him if that was the case. I don't know if Becton's coming back. We are doing at 3:00 today, Boy Green meets Woody. We're going to have our interior offensive line episode for all the key positions for the Jets. We're doing a breakdown. Here are the free agents that are set to depart. Here are the players on the team at that position. Here are some upgrades they could make this offseason. And today we'll debate John Simpson, Elijah Vera Tucker, and obviously optionality, which could include Becton. I know he's played guard for other teams. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Geno could be among the options in quarterback land because we're desperate as hell. But, yeah, I don't see a Becton reunion happening. Geno possibly because we're so desperate with quarterbacks. But Nagi Boko says Sons of Anarchy went 2 seasons too long. Solid show. Oh, how dare you. How dare you. I love that entire show. Again, I won't spoil the ending, even though it's been like 1,000 years. But, you know, the way it ended was somewhat underwhelming. I will be honest, because I'm not going to say what happened, but what happened could have happened at any point. It just seemed like they sort of cut the storylines off because they could. So they just went boop, 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 boop. It seems like they could have done that like at any point. So I don't love that part. Seemed rushed, even though you say it went 2 seasons too long. But we'll have to do that on a Sons of Anarchy podcast, perhaps in the future. And Jets82 says, we needed more experienced hires like this from the start. I agree. I absolutely agree. Again, he did try experience on defense, but I would have went experience on offense. Alon making the connection. Stanford, Frank Reich. Stanford, Tanner McKee. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he seems to fit the profiles, size-wise. Delray Doc refuses to say the Stanford thing is impressive in college since you play some really easy teams. He joined the team months before they started as an interim and knew that this was only a 1-year thing. I don't know. Different strokes, different folks, I guess, Delray Doc. Donald Johnson says he's Googling the Eagles OC name. It's Sean Mannion, the former quarterback, is the new Eagles OC. Taylor Sterling saying, BG, he was thrown out of Stanford. Taylor, you need to read some articles, man. He was definitely not thrown out of Stanford. Again, here is the story. Frank Reich. Let's pull. I want to make sure I get the years right so I don't speak out of turn here. Okay. Let's pull up old Frank Reich here. Beep, boop, bop, beep, boop, bop, beep, boop, bop. Okay. So Frank Reich in 2025. Okay, so he becomes the interim head coach at Stanford in 2025. Andrew, again, Boomer Esiason, his college teammate, told this story on the podcast yesterday. In April of 2025, Andrew Luck desperately calls Frank Reich and says, hey, man, can you just be the interim coach for this year? Again, it wouldn't matter if Stanford won the national championship. This was a one-year thing while Andrew Luck figured out his crap. Andrew Luck, for those who don't know, is the general manager of Stanford. It's a new position where NIL and all this other crap. So he went in there for the 1 year just to do whatever he was going to do. They end up going 4-8. And then he was set to be an advisor for the team. He was employed by them, so he wasn't thrown out of Stanford. Taylor, hit a Google search on that. He was not thrown out of Stanford. He was the interim coach. He did it for 1 year no matter what was going to happen. And then he was moving on to this sort of angel role as an advisor. And then the Jets hired him, or he would have been at Stanford as like a senior advisor consultant. So he was not thrown out of Stanford. That is incorrect information. And like I said, look up the story or listen to podcast yesterday from Boomer Esiason. It gave some very good information there. Some good stuff. I also will share out a clip. We'll probably do it on the show tomorrow because we're going to do some more Frank Reich stuff tomorrow. But Boomer had a really good nugget in there about what to expect from what a Frank Reich offense looks like. And that to me is really interesting too. I did find that interesting. For sure. Jet Jar says, I love the Dunbar hire. Yeah, I love it too. Very nice. Yeah. Yep and no. Again, the LaFleur and Nathaniel Hackett is the offensive coordinator. He is not the passing game coordinator in Arizona. That is correct. That happened yesterday. Let's see. Yeah, let's get an update on the poll. People are asking about it. Let's see. Are you interested in adding Kyler Murray this offseason for the Jets? 74% of you say no. No go. All right. Again, that was, there you go. Taylor Sterling says, love the big ticket, but he doesn't have the mindset I want in this offensive line. He and Q are too silly to be mean. That might be true, but he did have some punishing stuff as a rookie. I think it's more than that for me. I heard more complaints from Mekhi Becton on Greg Roman that he didn't fit in the scheme. Like, yeah, with all due respect, I have a Mekhi Becton jersey in the closet. We followed each other on social media for a while. And I just have to say this as straight as possible. It just seems like he's always blaming other people. It's always the blame game with the Jets. They put me in this position to get hurt. Then he goes to the Chargers and he's like, I didn't fit in that scheme. And he was blaming the coaches. And I don't know, man. I don't know. It just... Like he chose to go to that scheme. So like I don't get how you could complain about it. You picked the scheme. You and your agent looked at all the options and you secured the bag, which by the way, good for Mekhi. He's got it. Mekhi's going to be just fine. Okay. He got a Super Bowl ring for the Eagles as a starter. That's awesome. He has that forever. He got a bag of money for the Chargers. So even if they cut him, he's still walking away with the big bag. And then his NFL career isn't over. So he's going to keep getting opportunities. So Mekhi Becton is doing just dandy. You don't have to cry many rivers, but like, man, it's always blame. You. You know, when you point one finger at other people, look at all the other fingers pointed back at yourself. So that's it takes some accountability, for God's sakes. I think that's where I'm at on Mekhi. It's not the soft thing or whatever people are accusing him of. To me, it's that. Oh, the Yank says, I never knew about the Suns. Thanks for the knowledge, BG. Yeah, either the defensive line story or the show. Both are great. Yeah, that was the Sons of Anarchy. It didn't pick up, again, maybe just diehard Jet fans. And not to say if you don't know it, you missed it. But like it was so niche that maybe a lot of people don't remember Sons of Anarchy in terms of the name of the Jets defensive line. So it was very niche. It didn't pick up as much steam as, again, the New York Sack Exchange, but ooh, wow, there's a lot of Sons of Anarchy takes in the comments section. Okay, maybe I stepped in a rabbit hole here. Yeah, I'm seeing all the people bringing up Stoutland, the Eagles offensive line coach, that's stepping away, but he's under contract, and a lot of people are sort of going crazy about Like, ooh, he could come to the Jets. Oh, Frank Reich crossover. Like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. But I'm with Nanga Iboko. I'm cool with Hayden. I don't know if Nanga's saying he's cool. The Jets are cool. So, but to me, like, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful because this offensive line guru is like one of the greatest of all time in Stoutland. He has done marvelous work. Look what he did with Mekhi Becton. He turned him into a Super Bowl starting offensive lineman. That's pretty good at a position he wasn't familiar with, incredibly. But I think Steve Hyde did a really nice job last year. And I think Stoutland is probably going to go to a team where he can add more Super Bowls. It would be my guess at this point in his career of turnaround. Again, Bill Callahan's another great offensive line guru. We've had that back in the past. If Stoutland's willing to come in as some sort of a senior person and it's all about money, then there's no cap on money for coaches. So could be. Jesse Owen, do you trade all 3 first-round picks next year for Mendoza if you keep the number 2 pick for Tate? Absolutely not. No. I want Mendoza. I won't lie, and I'm infatuated with Mendoza, and we will have a special guest tomorrow that I will ask about a Mendoza trade about, because, as I've said before, Darren Muji isn't doing his job if he probably already hasn't called the Raiders, let alone what he does this offseason. If you're the GM, you have to try to see, even if you assume the answer is no, because you never know. It's the NFL. Crazy shit happens. But no, the 2027 draft is supposed to be so special. To give up 3 2027 number ones for that, I mean, I get it. You would have 1, 2, and 16, which would be exciting because 1, you could take Fernando, 2, you could take the best defensive player, and then 16, get him a wide receiver, which would be a lot of fun, but that'd be very short-sighted. That'd be very short-sighted in my mind. And to be honest, I don't know if the Raiders do it. So Raiders tell their fans, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I know we had a chance at Fernando, the best quarterback of this class, but cool. We got 3 first-round picks next year. Now we have 4 first-round picks in 2027. I'm not sure if it'd work either side. I don't know if the Jets would want to do it, certainly, and I don't think the Raiders would want to do it. But interesting thought. Thank you for throwing that question out there. Yeah, let's see. Delray Doc comes back, says, all right, let's forget about Stanford. He was still out of the NFL twice in the last 4 years. In his first year, he was out midseason. He's talked about Carolina. Carolina has a terrible owner in David Tepper, so I don't know how much I put into what failed in Carolina. He has been out of the NFL, so take that for whatever you will about being removed. Now, there's a difference between being removed like Rex Ryan. He hasn't coached football since 2016, which was a decade ago, and a guy was out of it in 2 years. At least he was still in college football. It's not like he was on his couch, like doing nothing for a couple of years. So, again, that can be slightly concerning about not being in the NFL, and people will question if the game has passed him by. But, yeah, again, with how much football he's been around, I don't know. Teflon TV, great point here. Newsflash, Coffee Club. There are great OCs who are not great head coaches. Check his numbers when he's running the offense against when he's running the team. That's the other part I want to highlight here. Now, some of his offense when he was running the team and the offense look great. Again, he had 3 top 10 offenses with the Indianapolis Colts, which is spectacular. He has operated with a lot of different quarterbacks. He signed up to the Colts to have Andrew Luck forever, and Andrew Luck, after 1 year, bailed on him. And he had to use Jacoby Brissett and all these other guys out in the universe. That's the other thing on Carolina. But to the point, like Carolina with Bryce Young not working out, apparently that's not the quarterback he wanted. But I don't need you guys to cry rivers for quarterbacks he ended up taking. But like we say, the offense sucked in Carolina. Well, he was running the whole team, so like his attention was sort of split. So I don't put a lot, and the Carolina situation was toxic. I don't put a lot of that on him, to be honest. But it's on the resume, as is any of our mistakes in the universe, whether it's our fault or not. Dave Brigger says, Paul, you bought a Becton jersey? Send it to Goodwill. Yeah, no, I'm going to keep all my Jets jerseys forever. No matter who they are, whether it's Jay Samaro or Mekhi Becton or Vernon Golston. Back in the 56 days, I used to get jerseys, whether I bought them for myself or more likely my parents bought them. I got them as soon as the draft happened. So like the Jets draft a player like Vernon Golston, my father would, you pre-order the jersey. So like you pay for it. And then whenever that player officially picks his jersey number and it gets confirmed with the National Football League and these licensed sites, then they ship out the jersey. So you can buy the jersey on draft day, say, I want Vernon Goldston. And then they tell my dad, who was ordering the jerseys back then, they'd say, hey, once the jersey number is confirmed, we'll ship it out to you. But, we won't ship it out till that happens. So, we got a lot of those on draft day, and then they didn't turn out to be what they are. And then I'm like, oh, there you go. Hep says, Paul, any chance Roman gets on board? Of course, he's referencing Greg Roman, who is a finalist for the offensive coordinator role. Now, we have heard both on a national level and a local level these rumors. Yesterday, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport says that it'll be this is his wording. It'll be interesting to see if Greg Roman takes a role on Frank Reich's staff with the run game. Ian Rappaport, national reporter, brought that up, and I went, interesting. Connor Hughes, local to us. And he says, hey, that's being discussed in the building. So, interesting. Zach Rosenblatt confirmed that's being discussed in the building. So, the local reporters have said the Roman stuff is real. Now, in fairness, Brian Costello joined the Jake Asman show yesterday live from the Super Bowl, and he says, I haven't heard any of that. I don't know where that's coming from. He says, I get it from a fantasy football perspective of how that makes sense. He says, I just don't see it. So, there are a lot of people are saying maybe. And then Brian pushed back on that cause, so we'll see. See, this is where I disagree. Delray Doc is back. He says, we did not upgrade our offense with the Frank Reich hire Tanner had promised. Totally disagree. We clearly upgraded. Frank Reich knows how to call plays. Tanner does not. Tanner has a much lower floor than Frank Reich. And that is something that there's nothing anyone can say that's going to tell me differently. The floor of Tanner Engstrand was much, much, much lower. If you want to argue that his potential ceiling may have been higher, okay, sure. Okay. But I'm not swinging for upside. I'm swinging for competence. That's what I want to get as a football team. I want to get back to competence. And Frank Reich has called a lot of, and Frank Reich, quite frankly, has done even more than competence. He has had multiple top 10 offenses that he's been the architect of. So we 1,000%. I strongly push back on anyone who says we didn't upgrade our offense. I strongly push back on that, with all due respect. We definitely upgraded. Now, what will the ceiling be? Well, who the hell's playing quarterback? I can give you some better answers on that. We absolutely upgraded. This was a clear upgrade. I don't understand the people that just have this magical thing on Tanner about, the potential. The potential means nothing. What can he do for me now? I don't want to hear, oh boy, if you continue to develop Tanner in 10 years, he's going to be blee blah blue. I don't care about blee blah blue. I care about right now. And so does Aaron Glenn, for that matter, man. What can you do for me right now? Not about potential this or potential that. Hell no. Hell no. I'm all about the right now. Potential, if in 20 years he becomes a great OC, God bless. Good for him. Let's go to a super chat here. Chef Kevin Gilbert on the program. I appreciate you, Chef. Let's freaking go. Let's hear from my daughters, Rylota. Wow. Chef Kevin Gilbert laying it straight. Becton is trash. Full of excuses. That's where I'm at. Trash. Again, he made good money. He won a Super Bowl. Good for him. Chef is more blunt than I am, so if you want to call him trash, that's fine. But full of excuses, absolutely. No matter where he's been, anything that bad happens, he's like, this person. Like, blame. Maybe as he gets older and he will mature, maybe he'll look at himself a little bit more, look in the mirror, because there has just been some very, 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 very concerning amounts of, like, hey, man, it's the rest of the world against me. And I'm kind of like, come on, man. Come on. Like, let's be real here. Some things we just have to take some responsibility for. And that's something I haven't seen, quite frankly, enough from Mekhi Becton. So 100% full of excuses. A lot of excuses. And that's disconcerting. Hey, Pop is in the chat with a hey now member shout out. He's been a member for 18 months. Appreciate you, Pop. Wow. Hey, now we'll have Pop back on Saturday's edition of Boy Green Daily. Appreciate that. Thank you, Pop, for your member shout out here on the program. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's good to see you in here. Oh, another super chat coming in. Let's go to our buddy Easy, baby.
Wow.
There'll be no living with me. Frank Reich, I told you so. That is true. Let's give credit where credit is due to the great EZ. He has called this Frank Reich thing for a very, very long time, and he deserves a ton of credit for it. An absolute ton of credit for it. By the way, something else you deserve are 2 raffle tickets, EZ. Now, have 2 raffle tickets for our contest. Yes, you were right. Dead right. You have been calling this for some time, that this would be a direction that the Jets should go. And you were right, my friend. You were absolutely right. So you deserve a ton of love. No question about it. So congratulations, EZ. You're the man. You're right. I'm wrong. I'm stupid. You're smart. You're just the best. So let's all bow down to the EZ temple. Someone else we should bow down to is our next guest, baby. We've got over 400 people in the room. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, including nearly 200 on YouTube. We're being joined by one of the best beat reporters in America. It is Nick Faria of JetsXFactor.com. Birthday balloons are still north of the border, baby. Those are good balloons. High-quality balloons there.
It was for my wife last week, and now we're closing in on a week. We got to clean this up, but we have a Super Bowl party coming, so we're kind of avoiding that. So,
okay. So a couple of things here. First off, how was the meal? The birthday meal last week?
Absolutely delicious.
Okay, good. And the Super Bowl party, is it a small little shindig? Is it a big party? Like, how many people are going to be at this thing?
I mean, our apartment's relatively small. We've got about 10 people coming, so we'll see. I don't know if that constitutes as big for an apartment.
That's fair. Okay, how did you decide who made the list? Is it family? Is it friends? Is it some combination?
Just friends. We have a consistent group of people that we love and hang out with, so we always try to get together as much as possible.
What does someone have to do to get on the list? Do they have to like curry favor? Is it like a good birthday gift and you're sort of the godfather and you're sitting and leaning back in your chair like, I will consider this. Yes. Like,
these are all college guys, all college friends. We met in college at Hofstra. Okay. I have had a very strong bond ever since.
All right, we'll see. We'll see if you can break this up. So we get another super chat coming in here from Del Ray Doc.
Wow.
We've been going back and forth about the Frank Reich thing, and he says, he sucked at Stanford at 4-8, and I explained from the Boomer Esiason anecdote on the Ritz-Amiti podcast yesterday that Frank was doing a favor to Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was in a tough spot, and Frank Reich did it, and now people are saying, 4-8, Frank Reich sucks, and I'm like, well. Whatever the season was, he was apparently agreed to do it for 1 year, whether they won the national championship or didn't win a game. He was just being there for 1 year to help out Andrew. And then he was apparently going to be the senior advisor before taking the Jets job. So some people are bashing him on that. And then look, he's been fired in all these places over the last couple of years, Colts, Panthers, and they dressed it up at Stanford. He did not get fired at Stanford. But so we've been disagreeing. Thank you for the $5 super chat saying I'm great, but we disagree about Reich. So you settle this, Nick. Unless you disagree with me, then you don't settle it. Your vote doesn't count.
About Frank Reich and the hire?
Just Frank Reich in general. Because again, I think you have a unique background that you can comment on this. Beyond, obviously, you have expertise with the Jets. You cover the team so closely, but Frank Reich was there with the Eagles. We talked about this before in the Reich rumor stage before it was official, but now it's official. So, sort of, where do you stand on Frank Reich?
Yeah, I think it's unfortunately a cop-out, but I think it's a wait-and-see game because we don't know who's going to be his quarterback. And I think we need to judge him and what he can do based on what kind of quarterback he's going to be working with. I wrote an article this morning, got published, kind of broke it down. There's some good and there's plenty of bad when it comes to a hire of Frank Reich. 64, 65 years old, older offensive mind. There is concern about his offensive scheme becoming stale. Last couple of years with the Colts and the Panthers. I'm not even talking about Stanford. I think that's an outlier. I don't think that's fair to judge anyone based on that. First year with the program, it was never going to be easy. But the last year in Indianapolis did not go well. His year in Carolina was a dumpster fire. And we can say, well, there are so many other different factors that go into why they were struggling with Reich as head coach. And while that's very fair, it's also fair to recognize he never could, one, get the quarterback position right. Part of that is Andrew Luck's retirement. Part of that is the fact that he wanted to hitch his wagons to one-year rentals. And then the other side of it is, after a certain point, if you're an offensive coach, if you're not willing to adjust your system to the modern game, you are going to struggle. So he does have a long background of developing quarterbacks, a successful background of developing quarterbacks. That's a feather in his cap. He was able to help a championship team when it comes to game planning process. That's a feather in his cap. But if we're talking about play calling, there are legitimate concerns because this scheme has not been fruitful for the last 3-4 years. And that's going to be a major concern for the Jets unless they bring in a quarterback that is sort of doesn't get hindered by the scheme. Someone who can come in and run this offense the way it's supposed to be run, according to Frank Reich, and actually drive the ball downfield and put up points.
Which, again, we can only hope that it goes well for the Jets. That's it. If you're a fan, you're just hoping for the best, and that's the way to do it.
It's just too early. Like, if they were to bring in, again, he loves big quarterbacks, so they bring in Tanner McKee. They bring in Alec Pierce. They bring in guys that are going to work in this kind of offense. I think there is potential for success. But if they can't find it, it doesn't matter what play call Frank Reich is calling. The execution is going to be poor.
So let's go into – I was going to go a different direction, but based on what you just said. So first off, we've all been speculating all offseason. When the Jets fired Tanner Engstrand, and even before that, we're like, man, who the hell is going to be the quarterback? And there's just endless possibilities. Draft, trade, sign, this, that, or the other. Now that we have Frank Reich, do we have a hint on the kinds of quarterbacks he's going to go after? The actual name? Oh, these guys are Frank Reich guys, so we need to keep an eye on these guys. Like, do we know the direction? Do we know names? What is there any hint now that Frank Reich is the guy of where the Jets could go this offseason at quarterback?
Well, let's compare it to some of the quarterbacks that he's worked with over the last decade.
Sure.
Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, Andrew Luck, Brissett, Phillip Rivers. What do these guys all have in common? They're really taller guys, bigger quarterbacks. Obviously, they're going to be outliers, of course.
Sure.
But they're relatively bigger guys with strong arms, solid anticipation, can read the defense, but also know when to pull the trigger. To me, there are some quarterbacks. First off, Jacoby Brissett in a trade seems almost a foregone conclusion at this point now that Frank Reich is going to be calling plays because you don't know what Matt LaFleur wants to do or Mike LaFleur wants to do in Arizona. He could completely retool the quarterback room as the head coach, and he may just want to get rid of Kyler. He may want to get rid of Brissett. That could allow.
What would the trade price be on Brissett, by the way, just randomly?
I would say probably a late round pick swap. I don't think it's going to be
nothing crazy. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be anything significant. This is a career backup. Played well last year, but again, it's just I don't foresee a situation where it's going to cost an arm and a leg for him. Okay. It's a matter of what kind of quarterback is he looking for. And you look at his history, Frank Reich's history at the position, it's bigger guys with big arms that is one read and go, move. And I think Tanner McKee is going to be a possibility. I think Jacoby Brissett is going to be a possibility. And then you turn to the draft and say, okay, well, which prospect probably fits that build more than anything else? And if we talked about it last year, I think Drew Allard out of Penn State is probably that guy. If he came to the NFL last year, it's probably a first-round pick, arguably top 10, top 15 overall selection. That's not going to be the case anymore with his knee injury. It'll be interesting to see what he looks like in the rehab process and where teams may want to consider him. But certainly him on a flyer would be a projection. I think that makes a lot of sense for Reich.
All right, a couple of things here. First off, what do you make of this guy? Again, Frank Reich wasn't the only hire. Look at this reunion. Carl Dunbar. He's there with the Sons of Anarchy. Leger Duzable over there on his right, our left. Sheldon Richardson, Snacks Harrison. Muhammad Wilkerson is in the bottom right-hand corner of that screen. Carl Dunbar back after 8 seasons in Pittsburgh. Of course, he was a Rex Ryan guy, both with the Jets and followed him to Buffalo. How should Jet fans feel about this magical reunion? We have reunions everywhere. Frank Reich, 1996. Oh, Aaron Glenn. Woohoo! Now Carl Dunbar. Wow, it's a reunion kind of offseason so far.
This is a terrific hire, and I'm not even going to comment on his time with the Jets, which was obviously very successful. I'm looking at what he did with the Pittsburgh Steelers. First off, Derek Harmon, the first-round pick out of Oregon last season, was really strong last year. They look like they have the next up-and-coming great tackle at the position. I think Dunbar deserves some credit with that, not only locating that kind of player, but developing him to a point where he was very, very successful. That's number one. Number two, working on the defensive line with Cam Hayward, making sure they're in constant communication with the outside linebackers, T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith. You talk to Pittsburgh Steelers players, and they were all very complimentary of Dunbar as a coach. So, yeah, listen, Jet fans are going to be excited by this hire because of what he did in New York back in the early 2010s, and that's perfectly fair. To me, I look at what he did recently and the job that he's done with the Steelers, making sure that the one position group that has been consistent and consistently great over the last decade has been the defensive line. He deserves a lot of credit for that. I think it's a terrific hire.
Let me ask you, because we've heard this criticism. I won't name names, person in the comment section who said this, but I'll allow Nick, you to comment on it. You mentioned what you just said, that like, yeah, sure, a lot of nostalgic Jet fans like, yeah, that was our guy, yeah. But you say, hey, look at the recency here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. There was someone in our comment section who said, not that impressive. T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward were there. What's your response to that person?
Well, okay, sure, but then what happened with Alex Highsmith? What can we say about Derek Harmon? Derek Harmon walked in, and he was a very good player in his rookie season. We can sit here and say, well, it's the easiest thing in the world when you have great players to coach. But if these players are complimenting him, saying a lot of their success is due to him, then we have to take that for face value. We have to say, listen, he deserves some credit for the development of T.J. Watt, of Cam Hayward, of Derek Harmon, of Alex Highsmith. To me, it's a cop-out to say, oh, these great players are here, and that's the reason why we shouldn't focus and give him too much credit because he worked with great players. It's the development of these players that deserves the most credit.
Yeah, and also I would say this is what I yelled at this individual earlier that's in the comment section. Mm-hmm. And I said he got there, he being Carl Dunbar, ahead of T.J. Watt's second season. In T.J. Watt's first season, he had 7 sacks. Did we just know, a future defensive player of the year here? No, let's put some gosh darn respect on Carl Dunbar, man, that obviously he helped nurture this talent that was here. I'm not saying he's solely responsible for T.J. Watt. If he didn't go there, maybe we never know who the hell T.J. Watt is. That's over the top. But it clearly he had an impact. It's not like T.J. Watt was just this unquestioned superstar, no doubt about it. He was the little brother of J.J. Watt. That's how he entered the league. And then he came with the name for himself. So, unbelievable.
Well, and again, it's more of the, okay, well, even if you don't want to give credit to T.J. Watt, because he's an outside linebacker, a 3-4, he's not technically a true defensive lineman.
Sure.
That's fine. Well, Cam Hayward's, a borderline Hall of Famer. Derek Harmon, Benton is another one, the nose tackle.
Yeah, sure.
He's been really, really good. There are so many examples of Pittsburgh's defensive line being the only thing that they could consistently hang their hat on. We can sit here and say all we want about how disappointing the Steelers were over this entire time frame, but the defensive line wasn't the biggest problem. And when you're a defensive line coach, you need to make sure that Watt and Highsmith are working congruently with these interior guys, with Hayward, with Benton, with Harmon. And they did it at a really high level. So to me, I don't think there's really any downside to this. And the other piece to it that people are kind of forgetting, the Jets don't have these quote-unquote top defensive linemen. They are going to need someone to come in and nurture a young group. They're going to draft a defensive lineman in this draft, multiple, arguably, at this point. You need someone that knows how to develop that talent. And Dunbar is absolutely the kind of guy you want in this particular role.
Nick, interestingly, a coach that used to work with Frank Reich suddenly became available. Oh, who is this? Oh, Jeff Stoutland is available, and I imagine 31 of the 32 teams, 32 of the 32 teams, quite frankly, should be interested, including the Eagles, for goodness sake. I don't know if you have anything to share here on this bizarre situation here in February, this possibly coming up, but is there any chance, Jet fans are, of course, always drooling over this, that he reunites with his good old buddy, Frank Reich, who is with on the Eagles staff for a quick bit of time there, and he joins the Jets as this offensive line mastermind, this offensive line guru to work with Steve Hyden?
Yeah, well, no, it's not work with Steve Hyden. Quite frankly, I kind of put it out yesterday. 31 coaches are firing their offensive line coaches if they can bring in Jeff Stoutland. The work that he did in Philadelphia, developing talent. We got to remember something here.
Yeah,
Lane Johnson is the only good player from the 2013 draft class. He's going in the Hall of Fame, and he's really the only guy that is a borderline Hall of Famer at this point. In that first round selection. It was just an awful, awful draft. That was due in large part to Jeff Stoutland. Jason Peters is going into the Hall of Fame, due in large part to Jeff Stoutland. Then you look and say, okay, well, Jason Kelsey, 6th round pick. Jordan Mailata, 7th round pick. Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, 2nd round picks. Big V, Halaputi Vaitai, I always butcher his first name. The left tackle that started the Super Bowl for them against the New England Patriots was a 5th round pick. This guy takes reclamation projects and turns them into all pros. It really is incredible, the work that Jeff Stoutland did in Philadelphia. But people need to understand something.
Okay.
Stoutland leaving Philly is all about the new offensive coordinator coming in. Philadelphia has seen their run game kind of wither away. A lot of injuries happened last year. The group is just getting older. Sure. And they believed they needed an infusion of scheme to come in and sort of fix things on the offensive side of the ball. And when you do that, and you're bringing in the Sean McVay system, the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan system, excuse me, Jeff Stoutland's never run that. So essentially, they've gone to Jeff and said, "Listen, we're not going to give you the run game coordinator role anymore. We're just going to expect you to be our offensive line coach instead, and just learn this new system." And Stoutland said, "Listen, I'm the best run coordinator in the NFL. I don't really want to do that." And he said, "Okay, listen, I'm going to go elsewhere. It's not a big deal." I heard rumors that he will not coach this season. So that's something to keep in mind. I did hear some rumblings that he wasn't going to coach. Now that could change if a top team is looking to hire him. But if you're the Jets, this is a no-brainer. And Steve Hyden deserves all the credit in the world for what he did with this Jets offensive line last season. It was absolutely fantastic. But this is Jeff Stoutland we're talking about. This is arguably the best assistant coach in the National Football League. You know, the Patriots, a lot of their credit in their dynasty run was due in large part to offensive line coach Dante Scarnecchia. Absolutely incredible offensive line coach. And it seems like Scarnecchia, the legacy he left behind, was taken over and adapted by Jeff Stoutland. 31 teams are going to run to the table and say, "We will fire our coach if that means you can come in and run our run game system and help our offensive line figure it out." This is a no-brainer for the Jets. This is a no-brainer for the Giants. This is a no-brainer for every other team except for Philly, because they are transitioning to a much different offense this year than they have really worked with in the last decade.
Now, I don't know if this information is public yet, but how this happened with Stoutland, because from what I understand, he's under contract for this upcoming season.
Correct.
And whether he chose to walk away or the Eagle, I don't know why the Eagle. Yeah, I was about to say, okay, because I don't know why the Eagles would want to move on. So would there be some sort of compensation here if the Eagles allowed him to leave? Like, what
they would allow. They would have to, and so it's a little tricky. It is a little tricky,
right?
His title at the beginning of last season was run game coordinator, offensive line coach. He gave up run coordinator duties later in the year because they were making adjustments that he wasn't really on board with.
Okay.
And the idea is if his official title did not change, then all these teams have to ask Philadelphia for permission to interview Jeff Stoutland and bring him into the fold. If they're bringing him in as an OC, Philadelphia can't block it. But they can block it if, say, the Giants were to call and say, we want him to be our offensive line coach. Let us interview him. The Jets probably will be a different story because they're not in the division. There's not a hated rivalry there. So I think in that case, the title of what Stoutland is now is going to be the main topic point, the main argument for these teams around the league. If they're just bringing him in potentially as a run game coordinator and that's not his title in Philadelphia, Philadelphia can't block it. But if it's still that title, even though he gave it up, Philadelphia can block it till the cows come home, and they'd have absolutely no worry about that at all.
Yeah, I would be curious. This was many years ago. You'll remember this as an Eagles guy, but the Eagles did right by Nick Foles. They could have, after that situation played out, for how I remember it, is that they could have, tagged Nick Foles and did all these different things. And from everything, they sort of gave him tip of the cap. Thanks for everything you gave us and this awesome Super Bowl. And walk out the door, and he got the crazy money deal with Jacksonville.
Big difference.
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Well, the big difference. So they did right by Nick Foles, and the big difference is Nick Foles said, "Okay, I want to be a starter. I promise I'm not going to a rival. I'm not going to the
interesting.
Giants.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that part.
To Washington. I'm not going to Dallas.
They did right by each other.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay.
Stoutland, from my understanding, he's not exactly happy that the roles changed and there were certain things that happened.
Right.
Does that mean he wants to go to New York? I think that's all. He's a Staten Island guy. I would say that's certainly in the possibility. But then Philadelphia could say, listen, we are very appreciative of you, but we're not just going to give you away to our biggest rival just because you're angry at us. You're under contract for a year, buddy. You don't have, if you want to sit out a year, that's perfectly fine. You can be a 65-year-old offensive line coach, and we won't, bat an eye. Your kids, your grandkids are in the school system in Philly. Your family's in Philly, all that stuff. There's no reason for them to say, yeah, we'll just let you go to the Giants. No questions asked.
Touche. Fair enough. All right, let's get another super chat and then we'll open up the phone lines here on the show. EZ, hey, you know what, Nick? The last time you came on, there was, oh my God, we need to tank ahead of 2026 because 2026 just sucks. Well, a super chat.
Wow.
EZ says the coaching hires are giving me some hope for success. God bless America. By the way, EZ 3 raffle tickets for a contest this month. Is this warranted, Nick Faria? Again, there's many more staff hires to come. There's still some important ones offensively. The defensive staff is starting to fill out now. All of a sudden, we went from, oh my God, I'm just ready to die. God, take me. And then all of a sudden, wait a second here. Some optimism is sort of bubbling in Jets fans. Is that warranted bubbling optimism, sir?
Paul, I'm going to ask you, what was my answer to these people that were freaking out last week, if you remember correctly?
I believe you said a 5-letter word. It started with an R, and it was relax and patience and to wait, I believe was your response, Nick Faria.
What has changed? Has the roster changed? Has the draft happened?
No.
We have no idea. And again, it's a cop-out, sure. And fans are looking for anything to be positive about. I get it.
Sure.
But they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a second receiver. They don't have a defensive line. They don't have a number one corner outside of Brandon Stevens. Their safety room is atrocious.
Yes.
There are so many things that have to happen from this time until the regular season for us to really gauge into what the Jets are going to look like in 2026. And it's on both sides. Anyone that is overly panicking about what this staff looks like or what Aaron Glenn is as a head coach, and those that are saying, actually, these coaching hires maybe will actually be a little bit better than we think. It is way too early for any of this on either side of the aisle. I just the way that I see it. If they were to bring in, if they were to come in and trade for Jacoby Brissett, and they were able to sign Alec Pierce, and they were able to bring in some extra running backs, and they were to fix their defense. They draft Arvell Reese with the second overall pick. They draft Mekhi Lemon at 16. They get, let's say, throw a quarterback out there. Let's say Trinidad Chambliss. He's going in the draft. They get him in the second round, and they're building the team. And everyone looks back and says, okay, well, this roster looks a little bit different, but a little bit better than last season. Let's see where it goes. Then we can make that decision. But we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. That's true. Now, the starting quarterback on this team is Justin Fields. Whoa. He's not going to be the starter week one.
God, I hope not.
Again, the people that it's two sides of the aisle. There are people that are looking for any positivity from this coaching staff. Yes. Any positive, hey, this is a good hire. This is really good. And everyone that's saying, I call the Jake Asmans of the world, and I love him to death. What does Aaron Glenn do well? This all sucks. Everything sucks. There's no hope whatsoever. It's way too early for any of this because this roster is going to look different. There's $75 million in cap space. There's going to be an offseason plan and players brought in that have to be brought in, and we are way too early in this process to even consider either side of the aisle.
All right. Now that you brought up Jake Asman, I just have to tell this story now. And then we'll open up the phone lines for just a little bit, take questions, and then I have another interview coming up at 9 o'clock. And actually, we'll be back with Nick. We've got some MC Show Digital Jets video conversation to happen later. So Jake's out at the Super Bowl. Jake's doing an awesome job. And he has a booth set up.
I love him to death. And again, me saying that is not a reflection on my. No. I absolutely love Jake to death.
He's
a good friend. I like his anger, and I saw the clip with Costello yesterday.
That's what I'm just about to bring up to everybody. So if you guys didn't see this, real quick, here's the context of it. Okay, so Jake's at the Super Bowl. He's having guests sort of join him. So Brian Costello of the New York Post joins him on set, and they're doing an interview. And in the middle of it, Jake's talking to Brian about, like all the dysfunction with the Jets. And he says, hey, I know what one and done looks like. I was in Houston with David Culley, and it's terrible. And then Brian, with a smile, says, yeah, I heard that's your take. And then Jake keeps going. And then Brian goes, you know what? Let me just tell you this. A NFL coach reached out to me that's paying, it's not on the Jets, that's paying attention to the Jets, and said, Jake has been so loud about his displeasure for Aaron Glenn that an NFL coach is like, what the hell did Aaron Glenn do to Jake Asman? And Jake laughed when he's like, wait a second, an NFL coach really said that? So that he is so loud and out there in the universe that NFL coaches are like, who the hell what's going on with this Jake Asman, Aaron Glenn thing? That to me, I just laughed. I said, oh my God, people need to hear about this. That's
now the question is, who's the coach? That's
right, exactly.
Who's the coach?
Who's the coach? And apparently, according to Kaz, this coach is paying attention to Jet stuff. So there has to be a reason. No, unless people just are gluttons for punishment. I don't know why you're keeping a close eye on the Jets. Give it to me.
I'm gonna throw a dart at the wall. No idea whatsoever. Okay. No idea whatsoever. Dart on the wall. Either Saleh or Todd Bowles.
That makes sense. Right?
Saleh or Todd, one or the other.
Places. Yeah. Ooh, wow. Okay. Saleh seems like the more likely one that would say something like that. Just my gut, because Todd just never says anything. So
I have no clue. I have absolutely no idea. Yeah. This is purely just having fun. Throw a dart at a wall. Who was it? Who's the guy that is so concerned of Jake's opinion on Aaron Glenn?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I want some choices out in the audience. That is, but that's crazy. When he said that, I could not believe that Kaz said it, and it's true. Kaz wouldn't make that up. That's, oh my God, that's wild. All right, folks, we'll play a quick half timeout. We'll open the phone calls. We'll take as many phone calls as we can for a short, brief period of time. And then, like I said, I got some interviews coming up at the turn of the hour. So we'll be right back after this.
1, 2, 3. Whoa! Fucking daily, fucking daily, fucking daily. Talking Jets football, man. Fucking daily, fucking daily, fucking daily. The New York Jets Football Club. Offense, defense, special teams, watch Jets football with Boy Green. Everyone, Jets, Jets. Fucking daily, fucking daily, fucking daily. Talking Jets football, man. All right. Fucking daily, fucking daily, fucking daily. Nice. Offense, defense, special teams, watch Jets football with Boy Green. Jets,
Welcome back to Boy Green Daily, everybody. I'm Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. This is a daily New York Jets video show. We're being joined by beat reporter Jets Nick Faria of JetsXFactor.com here on the show. I'm seeing Ricky New York Live in the comments says, oh, it's obviously a coach on the Giants staff. So now we're getting all these guessing games that are going on here on who this could be. And I thought about this too yesterday after seeing that Brian Costello-Kaz moment. Craig Mechanic says, I wonder if Aaron Glenn is going to send Jake an edible arrangement to calm things down. I thought to myself, like, would the Jets like openly do this as a joke? Like, to like cool things down.
Oh my
like,
God. Honestly, if that were to happen, that would be prime television. It's like Days of Our Lives kind of stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like a Zoom call with AG, or he sends him like a video message like, Jake, keep it up, buddy, or like something to like cool the waters and like wink at the camera in the middle of a show like that. I thought about that. I could also
foresee a situation, and again, shot out of left field. I could see a situation. Jets start like 2-0. And they play some weak teams. They start 2-0, and it is just parading around. What do I do well? I win.
Yeah.
And then they go on like a little losing streak, and then it just absolutely just combobulates.
But that's when when if Aaron Glenn just of his own accord just says like whatever, I do this well, and everyone would go, no way. Like that would be hilarious.
And here's the thing, like I think it absolutely could because of how loud it's been. And again, I love him to death. This is his opinion. Sure. It's his show. He has every right to say what he wants.
Yeah.
I'm always a guy that loves takes. I could foresee a situation where if they were to go on a little bit of a winning streak, I think that comment would certainly be made.
Oh my goodness. I'm just so ready for it now that it's been sort of dropped in my own mind when I sat there. I'm like, with the Jets? And then, we'll see what happens. All right, we'll go to the phone lines, people. That's a pinned comment on youtube.com/BoyGreen25. We have over 500 people in the room. Good Lord have mercy. Here on February 5th on Super Bowl week. That's terrific. Let's start it off with EZ, baby. And EZ, thank you for all the Super Chats today. And thank you, of course, for being right about Frank Reich. Thank you. We're not worthy.
Well, I don't know if I'm right about him totally. I just said they should hire him. Yeah. He's gotta prove that I was right about him.
Sure.
Because we've made some mistakes in the past, and it's got to be the right situation. Here's my point that I'm going to make to Nick.
Sure.
Yes, we have the same players on the team currently, as of today.
Of course.
But you have to start somewhere. The first place you start is by hiring experienced coaches, and this is what I've been saying the whole time. I don't want to just hire a coach. I want to hire a coach that at least has a record of success. Is Frank Reich the end-all, be-all? No. But he has shown that he can coach up quarterbacks, and he has shown that in a good situation, he can be pretty darn good. Not everybody is good all the time. Look what Rex did. Rex was great at first, and then it faded out. But I don't blame Rex totally for that. Rex was not the greatest guy at evaluating talent to bring on a team. Now, he was good at coaching them up once they were here. But when Mike Tannenbaum was gone and they brought in Idzik was an idiot. He was pure bean counter. He got rid of a lot of guys that Rex didn't want him to get rid of and drafted some guys that Rex suggested. But then, like I just said, Rex was not the greatest of talent evaluations. So
I don't think it was just Tannenbaum, though. Like to be honest, Easy, I think what we need to remember.
Well, he got some guys from Mangini, too.
Mangini was the guy, in my opinion, that was probably the best talent evaluator the Jets have had.
Why did we fire Mangini? Remind me of that, because I don't.
Oh no, excuse me, he didn't go 4-12 because of the collapse down the stretch.
2008,
Brett Favre. Yeah. They said we need new blood. Now that was
Favre's fault. Favre tore his bicep at the top, and he couldn't throw the ball, and he kept his mouth shut. And he hurt the team because his precious starting record was more important to him than that of helping the team win. That's why we started 8-3.
I'm not debating any of this, but what I'm saying is the talent that was brought in before Rex is a big reason why Rex was so successful. I mean, that offensive line was easily at the time the best offensive line in football. The receiving.
Well, Rex came in and said, "I can win with this team right now."
Absolutely.
He said that.
But that's
and everyone thought it was full of shit, but he proved it. But anyway, getting back to my point, because you had your time. This is my time, Nick. I'm just kidding.
I wanted to make sure Mancini got his flowers there as well.
No, Mancini does get his flower, but is definitely part of the reason why Rex failed ultimately.
Yeah. Okay.
Because Rex is a great coach, but he's not exactly what I'd call a scout.
Yep.
So here's where we are right now. Okay. AG took the team last year, came in all, piss and vinegar and all arrogant, and I can do this, I can do that, blah, blah. And he failed. He should have been fired. He failed, but he got a second chance. Okay? Whether you agree with that or don't agree with that, he got a second chance. So I think he's trying to make the most of his second chance right now. He's reevaluating the moves he made, and he's trying to improve on the mistakes he made. He's trying to learn from them. That's why last year, when he was the defensive guy, hiring an experienced defensive guy and a rookie offensive guy, I thought was a big mistake. Why would you hire an inexperienced guy at a position that you don't know and hire an experienced guy at a position you do know? So right there last year, by the coaches that he hired, that was his big mistake. Now he's correcting that. He's going to be running more of the defense. He hired a guy who can help the game planning so that he can call the plays on the field during the game. I'm sure he's going to hire some kind of game management clock guy to stand next to him for timeouts and to help him out and just give him a little nudge in the ribs and go, hey, we need to call a timeout here. The one thing I could say about Aaron Glenn, he's not stupid. He was a smart player. He's got chops, okay? But hiring Frank Reich, and this is why I wanted Frank Reich, we're going to be bringing in a journeyman quarterback. So we need a guy who's a good coach, a good teacher. That is Frank Reich. He's a good play caller. So that is going to just ease the mind of a lot of the players too. He's got respectability and confidence. The players, I think, are going to have more confidence in Frank Reich, and therefore it'll give them an opportunity to not sit back and go, what the fuck is this guy doing? They can just go out and play their game and have confidence because this guy's got a track record. All these little things, this defensive line coach that they just hired, that's another little step up. Hold on a second. My glucose alarm's.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, you handle your glucose alarm. Jesus. Easy. Thank you for the call. We're going to try to get to as many callers as possible here over a short time. So let me keep going down the train here. Up next is Ricky New York Live, baby.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
What's up, Ricky?
Dude, I don't think I don't necessarily, agree with everything that Easy said there.
Okay.
To me, I think that it was like more about Tanner's like in-game adjustments and stuff that led to this move, but before everybody was saying like, oh, I want the next great offensive mind. And we thought that's what we were getting. But at the end of the day, I do think that Glenn's learning from his mistakes. Dude, I have to admit, I saw the Brian Costello Jake clip yesterday, and I laughed my ass off because it really does seem like that. It seems like he's taking it really personal, and I get it. Okay, I love Jake. He does a great show.
100%. By the way, real quick, there are people questioning. They're saying there's no way an NFL coach would say that. I don't think you guys understand the reach that Jake Asman has. He's on ESPN New York. He does the Jake Asman Show of 40,000 subscribers, and you can like him or don't like him. It seems like all of us on the screen like him, and I respect the hell out of him. And hey, the grind is impressive, what he's been able to do. But he has been yelling it so vehemently, so loud that I'm not surprised that an NFL coach.
Like I believe, didn't
exactly
he
right. He is Yes, he has the New York Game Day show with the Tannenbaum, and he's yelling about it every Sunday. And they're bringing on big time guests, and Jake's talking to them about it. So, oh my God, yes. So I'm not surprised that NFL coach would have
well, you know what, and this is the thing, like you said, he does ESPN New York as well as this. Yep. But remember, the New York Post guys cover the Giants and the Jets, so I would not be shocked if it wasn't a Giants.
Oh, that's
coach.
a good point too. Interesting.
Wouldn't be shocked.
And they're in town, right? So that would make sense if they're just randomly on the radio and they hear it. That's another good point, Ricky.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm kind of leaning in that direction. And dude, I get it. I at times I feel bad for Jake because I think the frustration of all the losing is getting to him. And I really been thinking about this, Jake's a little bit younger than me, but, so is Ryan and Matt O'Leary and sure. Buffalo Jets fan. And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, damn, you know what? These guys, were probably all like 7, 8 years old when Rex Ryan was here. Like, they don't remember the 98 year and the Herm Edwards years. And God, even when Rex was our coach, there was no Jets YouTube going on back then. So like as content creators, we haven't had a winning product to talk about like ever on YouTube.
Yep.
So I completely get the frustration. However, the NFL is a league that's built on second chances. So, and the hypocrisy of the fire Aaron Glenn now thing, like, according to your own logic, coordinators don't even want to come here, but you want to fire Aaron Glenn, one of our own, one who wanted this job more than anything. And you think by doing so, you're going to attract like the big ticket names? No, big ticket names are going to go, wow, they just shit all over one of their own and couldn't run him out of town fast enough. I'm not taking that job with a 10-foot pole. I get Jake's strategy, though. Brilliant. We have a very reactive owner, so if you yell loud enough, you might actually get your wish. I get it. Kudos to him for that, because I try to employ similar strategies. There's only so much you can do as a fan, but we all do what we can. But at the same time, careful what you wish for. Like, how many times as Jets fans have we said, well, it can't be any worse, and it gets worse. So that's all I have to say.
It doesn't help when you have other radio hosts spewing rumors from the Senior Bowl that are just not particularly accurate.
Yeah, I saw that too. Muji wants out of his job. I heard at the Senior Bowl. Well, no, he wasn't even at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, look, I talked to people. I talked to a couple of sources. They unequivocally were like, that's ridiculous. It did not happen. He's been helping with the coaching interviews. I didn't even really want to bring it up, but it kind of goes to that point of a lot of people are angry, and for good reason. It's been 15 years not winning anything, not making the playoffs, having one winning season during that time. But the one thing I think hasn't been talked about enough is process. I didn't like the Jets' process and how they got to deciding who was going to be their play callers on either side of the ball. But if the process is flawed and they still get the right answer, you do a math problem and the work you did was wrong, but you got the right answer, does it freaking matter at all? Of course not. So
right.
At this point, we can sit here and say this needs to happen, that needs to happen, this is flawed, that is flawed. We're not at this stage. First off, Woody Johnson's not going to fire Aaron Glenn in February. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So we can sit here and be angry about this, about that, but it's not going to happen. They're moving forward with this plan. Whether we think it's the right plan or not is irrelevant. We're not the ones being paid to do this. So it's going to be up to this organization to find the right players. It's going to be up to them to prepare them for the regular season and get them playing a lot better than they did last year. This notion, this idea that the fan base, should already be jumping ship and everything, that's their call. But if we're just going to be sitting here and just blindly be angry for months on end before free agency starts, what are we like? That's my take. I'm not arguing that people deserve to have a right to be angry at Aaron Glenn. He has said things and walked those comments back, and it's always a detriment to yourself when you do that as a coach, especially for the fan base. It essentially spits in the fan base's face, saying, "I'm going to say whatever I want. Screw you if you are actually going to hold me accountable for that." But if they bring in good players this year, who gives a crap what the process looked like
100%.
to get? Yeah, it's just we don't know to this point. It's far too early to make those assumptions and those demands at this stage.
Ricky, I hope you feel better too, man. I saw that you're dealing with some stuff there. So I hope
I'm
you
going to be going to the doctor in just a little bit here. I thought it was just like a regular type cold, but it seems to be getting worse, not better. One last question, I'm letting you guys go. How bad do you think everybody's going to flip out when the only quarterback we draft in this upcoming draft is Taylor Green late?
I don't know if that's going to happen. I think we could be seeing a quarterback taken probably like day 2. I think day 2 is a safe bet.
Okay. All right.
If of course Mendoza goes first overall.
Oh yeah, that we will see. Ricky, thank you so much, brother, and feel better. All right, Nick, I can't. I'm sure we're going to talk about it on the other interview, but you've had this take, and I have never wanted something to be more true in my life. And
look, listen, it's
so
on.
Tell me, give us the update here, right? Clint Kubiak was hired. He's his well, he's reportedly hired, and then John Schneider was on the Insiders on the NFL Network, and all but confirmed that for anyone that said, "Well, maybe it's not official," and John Schneider all said, "Yeah, he's gone." Okay, folks, I know we're worried about the Super Bowl here, but he's gone. So he's going to be the next head coach of the Raiders. He's an offensive guy. And Daniel Jeremiah confirmed on the Rich Eisen show. He was like, "Oh, the Jets are going to try everything in their mother to attempt to do it." So, Nick, give us an update on the situation.
Yeah, listen, it's on life support. No sense denying that. If they brought in Evero, the DC in Carolina, I think that's certainly on the table. Especially with the report yesterday coming out saying that Max Crosby was going to be traded, was going to be shipped off. The team's barren of talent, like across the board. So a defensive coach, in my opinion, kind of sits there and says, "Listen, let's just get the best available player to us right away." But that's not the case. They brought in an offensive mind, and that offensive mind is probably going to say, "I want my quarterback," and that'll be it. So it's certainly on life support. Maybe something changes. The pro days happen, combine happens. A lot of things can change over the next couple of months, but certainly it's on life support. Absolutely.
But you didn't say it was dead, did you, Nick?
I'm not saying it's dead until it happens. I'm not going to say it's dead until it happens.
There we go, baby. That's what I'm talking about. All right, we have a quick super chat coming in. Let's do that to break up the phone calls here from Ace of Spades. Super chat.
Wow.
Spade, that $2 super chat. Nick Faria, who would you take it to? Ty Simpson, maybe?
No, absolutely not. Ty Simpson's listen. Ty Simpson is going to be drafted I think he's going to be drafted in the first round. Okay. I do believe he will not pass the Rams. Rams are at 13. I don't think he's getting past the Rams at 13. So he's going to be a first round pick, and he's going to be a high first round pick. But at 2. That's a little rich for my blood, particularly because Frank Reich wants a certain quarterback, and I don't know if Simpson is that kind of quarterback. Maybe it changes. Maybe he knocks it out of the park at the combine, and he dominates pro days, and certainly that can increase going forward. But if Mendoza's not on the board, the Jets have to go best player available, and that's going to be the discussion of Arvell Reese at Ohio State or Ruben Bain out of Miami. Right now, I think it would probably be Reese.
Okay. All right, let's go rapid fire through our last couple of phone calls here before we wrap up the show. Again, we will have Nick Faria again today. He's doing double dip duty, MC Show Digital. That'll be a pre-recorded conversation. We'll address a lot of these other Jets topics as well. All right, up next, Dave Briga, One Punch Briga, baby.
Hey, good morning, Paul. Good morning, Nick. Nick, how you doing today? Nick, I appreciate, you're a knowledgeable guy in the content world. Okay. Thumbs up or down on Reich?
Don't thumbs middle, Nick. That wasn't a choice, so don't even think about it.
Can I put somewhere in the middle? I don't know who his quarterback's going to be.
Well, you've seen him with the Eagles, right? And you were given a narrative on him. Do you think he can adapt? I get tired of seeing some of these comments that the guy's too old to adapt. We see the younger guys fail. It's just the flavors of the month fail too.
Because if you don't have your quarterback, that's why I'm saying.
You got to make a choice. You can't give me the quarterback stuff. You've seen him up front.
I love Frank, but I have to go thumbs down. If it is just pure where the roster is right now, the hire itself, what's the judge? I have to be honest.
Wow, I thought we're all going to peer pressure you, and then Dave's phone, I guess, just died. But I thought that was all going to go there. Wow, I guess Dave's phone died there. Oh man, for it to be a thumbs down, that's depressing. Oh, Dave's back. Oh wow, yeah. Dave, I don't know what happened there.
I'm sorry. No, it was my end. Somebody called me. We're waiting to get some repairs here.
Okay,
anyway.
Well, let me just tell you, just in case you missed it, he gave a big fat one of these. So,
but let's also add the context.
Yes,
if I'm not allowed to talk about who the quarterback's going to be, and I'm judging it purely based on what he is right now with this roster, right. I have to go thumbs down. There's no quarterback. There's no list. There's no that. There's issues.
Okay. All right.
Well, Nick, you know what? He brings maturity. I've been I bring a 60-year plus Jets fan. Nick, I've never seen this so bad. Now, we have a lot of guys. You've probably spoken to Kyle Clifton before, haven't you?
Of course.
Last night, I've seen him on I think it was Jake's show. He was never so down. This is an upbeat guy. We've been just dragged through the mud here with this Glenn. You said he had a plan. The plan changes on the fly, Nick. You can't 6-7 weeks in, 9 coaches are fired, right? Then you come to 5 coordinators, and you had a younger guy like Lunda Wells in there. Supposedly, this guy was a great coordinator from what I'm hearing in his positions through the years. But Glenn can't attract anybody. He's a pariah.
Dave, you just said he's changing the plan. Is that what a coach is supposed to do? Calling audible at the line of scrimmage?
Okay. Well, wait a second. Wait, no. Don't go there. Hey, if you're a businessman, right, you got a plan. This is a business. The NFL is a business. Once you put a plan, I work in business. I have my own business. You put a plan into effect, right? Yes, you make tweaks. But this guy is tweaking it every 10 minutes. Okay? Hey, I'm not a negative person. But you know what? You show me the proof. You know what? Where's the plan? You can't change the plan consistently. He's consistently inconsistent. Correct or incorrect, Nick?
Glenn?
Yeah, correct. He's consistently inconsistent.
Well, yeah. The answers in sessions with the media just not good.
Not the media only, but look the way he tries to change. At the beginning of last year, they're built. They're building. They're not building. Okay, it goes back and forth all the time. Now he needs help, so the only guy to bring in, and then the Wink deal. You know what happened down there? They had the Palm Beach meeting with Woody. He wanted, Woody says, you make the calls. He set a budget in place. Well, am I right or wrong? Then don't you believe that Woody put a budget in that he wasn't going to pay Wink?
I've heard conflicting reports on that in terms of what happened with Wink Martindale. I've heard, it was Woody, it was this, it was that. To be honest, I think it's more of just Glenn kind of put it out there at the end of year press conference that he would consider calling plays. Mm-hmm. And I think a number of factors came in where he just said, you know what? This is a make or break year for me. If I have to fire another defensive coordinator in season, I'm not going to get that opportunity. I'm going to get fired beforehand. I would rather just do this myself and let me go down swinging instead of waiting for someone else to make that decision for me.
Well, you bring in Wink twice, right? And then you go down to the owner and he tells you it's pretty much, you got to read through the tea leaves, my friend. You can't. We're not that naive. You know what I mean? We've been around, could see things. Okay, we don't have the exact answers, but you have to be able to see things. This is just this is chaos in operation. You know, for this to succeed, we need a miracle. So hopefully Frank Reich can help us. And as far as the Eagles go, you know what? Jeff Stoutland not staying there. You know, there's another flavor of the month. Getting rid of Jeff Stoutland for new techniques. A guy. I mean, come on, man. You got to be kidding me. This guy made Becton usable.
He did. That's maybe one of his greatest accomplishments he's ever had, Dave.
No, stop. Greatest accomplishments. He took a 7th-round tackle from Australia who never played a down in football and turned him into an All-Pro. That is Hall of Fame level worthiness of excellence.
Okay, we'll put Mekhi Becton second. What I would say this, Dave, is that on this budget thing, again, there has to be some, to your point, that they would meet with Wink twice. It's weird that they would do all this and then switch it. So, but obviously Frank Reich didn't come cheap. He came at from everything Connor Hughes is reporting, at a very sizable salary. And so that money came from somewhere. So I don't think it's all just like Woody yanked the rope on AG. And we're going to get the truth on that, right, when free agency happens. Are the Jets tight? Are they spending willy-nilly, or is there something in between? I think we're going to get some of those answers. All right, let's finish off with a few more phone calls here. Johnny Boy, you're up next.
Hey, BG, Nick, what's going on, guys?
How you doing, buddy?
Wow, dressed to impress. Whoa, look at this guy.
Yeah, I got to go into the office for a little bit.
Of course. Okay, wow.
Hey, so I work in business too, right? And
Yes.
when you take over a company, one of the first things you got to do is kind of settle in, see what's going on. And then if you got to cut some heads, you got to cut some heads, right? You got to see some of the old guys that were there from the previous regime or whatever. And if they're not catering to what you're trying to put in place, you're going to get rid of them, right? And then you're going to bring guys that you think maybe could do something, but then figure it out like, damn, they're not following what I want to do, so I'm going to get rid of them as well. And we just got to be patient, man. That's the biggest problem that we have. There is none. I understand that we've been losing and we continue to keep losing, but I was told that this guy, Aaron Glenn, wasn't going to be able to bring anybody over here. But I feel like the Dunbar pick is pretty big. The Frank is an okay pick, you know. But anyways, again, that was just what I wanted to say, but that's not the reason I called. Nick and BG, with Frank coming in and with Dunbar, what other coordinators are they going to bring? So, for example, I know that Frank has ties with Kevin Mawai as an offensive line assistant coach in the past before. Will he bring that? Are they going to implement some of his staff that he's going to want? Same thing with Dunbar. Is Dunbar going to bring over some of the DB coaches and things like that he had over there in Pittsburgh, potentially over here as well? So I just want to get you guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think everything's going to be. I think
And
everything's
thank you,
on the
Johnny.
table.
I appreciate that,
Yeah,
man.
they're certainly going to bring in their guys and people that are going to help, that they believe can get the best out of each position. I don't really think, unless Jeff Stoutland's coming, I'm not really changing the offensive line coaching staff at this point. They were so good last year. And again, the only reason why I changed it is for the literal best offensive line coach in the National Football League going forward. But yeah, I think if there's one name that I think people should keep an eye on, it's probably John DeFilippo. Mentioned yesterday. Old quarterback coach in Philadelphia when Wentz and Foles were in there.
What has he been up to?
Yeah, well, he hasn't been in the NFL for the last few years, but if Frank Reich wants some familiarity on a young quarterback and developing him the right way, I do think DeFilippo could be a potential addition to this staff going forward. And then you look at, different receiving roles, and you look at the defensive line, the linebackers, the secondary. A lot of these things are going to be changing over the next couple of weeks.
All right. Super chat coming in from Lou B, Super Jets fan.
Wow.
2 raffle tickets for you, Lou B. I heard Cliff Kingsbury is going to the Rams. Ty, he's talking about Ty Simpson, is the best option for Rams. Could they trade us? And what would they pay for it? Ty won't make it to 13. 13 jump to 2. We get a blockbuster haul, and we get to trade back. Nick?
Would you want a blockbuster haul for the Rams that are going to be in playoff contention every single year? You're going to be picking
right. Even that 13th pick is in there. So that's a Falcon. So that's a good point.
You're not gonna be picking in the 10s and 12s. You're going to be picking in the 20s.
That's true.
So I don't think the Rams are the right trade team, the right team to be trading with at that point.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I appreciate the thought, Lou B. But yeah, now that Nick immediately popped that balloon, I'm like, oh no, definitely not. All right, last call. Carl, finish us off here with Nick Faria. What is your comment, sir?
My comment is I've been sitting here listening to all the phone calls, reading the comments.
Sure.
And, every comment, every take that every person has is an opinion. It's only an opinion.
Okay.
They don't know, okay?
Right.
Nick, with all due respect, I like your take on a lot of things, but you do not know what the Jets are going to do, right?
Of course.
You think, right?
With all due respect. But
Carl, that's what I've been saying. We don't know.
Exactly.
No one's going to know yet.
Now, Boy Green, I've been calling in a lot and telling everybody to relax.
You have.
Because we don't know what's going to happen, okay?
That's correct. Yeah.
And what I see here is, a lot of anger.
Yeah.
And the only person I heard call that has probably as much jet watching experience as me is Dave Briga.
Sure.
And even Dave Briga's getting negative. And I'm trying to, what good is it going to do? We don't know who else is coming in. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. We're worrying about shit we have no control over. And I still say Aaron Glenn may learn from his mistakes.
Sure.
And he's bringing people in that he thinks are going to help this team. The draft is still coming. We got a shitload of draft picks, and I think we're going to trade, and I think we're going to pick some more up. And I'm still look. I don't know if optimistic is the right word, but the word I use all the time is I still have hope. And all these people that have been watching the Jets for maybe 10, 15, 20 years, I know you've been through a lot, but you haven't been through real pain unless you've been watching the Jets your whole friggin' life.
All right.
I mean, a few good years of Rex Ryan, a few good years of Herm Edwards. Someday they're going to get it right. And it's not going to change. It's not going to change your life. It's not going to change your life. And people that are negative about something as superficial, and I know it's not superficial to us diehard fans, but rooting for a football team is not the biggest deal in your life. It's not. No matter how much we love them, things happen in your life that are much more important. You can ask Indy Jet about things like that. You can ask Johnny Boy about things like that. Things happen that make this sound trivial. So enjoy it. Get a little pissed off. Throw your opinions out there.
All right.
Go back and forth with people, but don't let it consume you. Just have hope, man. Have hope. That's it. That's all I got to say. Have some hope.
Thank you, Carl. Wow, very philosophical down the show. Wow, that was deep. All right, well, Nick, that's good advice for all of us as we're departing here. Nick Faria, thank you so much as always for joining us here on the show. And again, I'm going to see you before you know it for some MC Show digital action. So, brother, thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course, thanks, guys.
There he is, Nick Faria, our beat reporter from JetsXFactor.com. We have 600 people in the room. I desperately have to go do another interview that I'm late for, so interview on the other side. We'll also have another conversation with Nick Faria dropping on the channel as well. To the 170 people of the now 600 that apparently are watching this show right now, please on the way out, if you'd like that video, I'd really appreciate it. We're also 10 subscribers away from 8,350. We just surpassed 8,340. So we're going to continue to climb. Thank you guys for your support. If you're just joining us, you're like, oh, what happened to the Kyler Murray thing? Again, if you go into the YouTube description down below, there's a full article talking about all of this, and Rich Cimini revealing that a former Kyler Murray teammate said, Jets, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Yikes. So, guys, make sure you guys check it out. We'll be back again at 3 o'clock for Boy Green Meets Woody. Again, we'll have a Nick Faria interview up on the channel in a little bit. And we had Lindsey Rhodes of the NFL Network joining us yesterday. Tomorrow, we have a very special Jets insider joining us on the show, and he's one of my favorites. So much to get to. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you next time